No. He had the home inspector did do an inspection on it. Well, when I showed up there later, we took a look at it. It was an in-ground gunite pool, supposed to have tile all the way around the water line. There's no tile on it. It was painted a nice shiny gray, and I've never seen a shiny gray pool before. And I noticed a difference of the paint on the side. When we went and kept investigating this further, all the tile that was supposed to have been there was thrown in the woods and was never replaced in the pool. There was a touch-up paint job on a crack, and that crack is probably about a $3,500 job. They used house paint on the pool. Now it's got to be sandblasted before it can be painted, and tiles got to go up. And that doesn't include moving the pump equipment, which is in the basement. So, and the pool was given an inspection, but by somebody that doesn't know pools, didn't know really what to look for, he ended up with over $10,000 worth of expenses on that swimming pool. So, and it really is. Pools are unlike any other item that you see that we normally see standards for. Now, that's starting to change in a lot of other states, California, Texas, Florida, where there's a big pool business. Their standards and codes are much more. So this inspection report is built on the ISPSC, International Swimming Pool and Spa Consortium, and it is thorough. Some of the codes are different. We'll just go through, take a look at this report so that you can see what we're looking at, and feel free to ask me any questions now as we go. And actually, our company is Pool Tech, but we are going to be starting another company just for the purpose of doing swimming pool inspections. How do you interpret a report? Let's take a look at this one right here. Red letters. This means there's a clear code violation. Something that needs to be repaired. It could be a number of different things. We'll see some of those as we go. Orange lettering means, hey, there's a problem here. It doesn't necessarily meet a code issue. Let's say the deck sunk and you've got two pieces of concrete right next to a pool and there's an elevation there. Trip hazard. Trip hazard around a swimming pool would be in the orange category. That's something, hey, it's not a code violation, but this is something that you need to get fixed. So interpreting this is basically the coloring there. Perimeter fencing. Code on perimeter fencing is the gate is to open out and to automatically close and self-latch. I know some public pools around here that the gates open in. Clear code violation. We've made them known, and it's kind of up to them to do that. This wasn't an inspection. It's just pools that we're dealing with. Guys that build fences don't know pool codes. So you would have to make sure that if you were getting a pool built, that somebody knows the codes of how those are supposed to go. Had a guy with an above-ground pool in his backyard in Soddy Daisy and a wood deck around it, so half of the pool had no fence around it because they had a fence on their railing. The insurance company goes in, you've got to have a fence around that. He goes, well, no kid could climb this. You've got to have a fence around this. So they built a chain link fence and gave a kid a perfect mechanism to climb up over and into it using a chain link fence. So there are standards on fences. How high is the release supposed to be? What is the minimum distance that you can have on a chain link? It's 1 3/4 inches. If it's bigger than that, then it's become a ladder. And you can't have that on a fence around a pool. So this house here had an automatic gate entrance. We checked the measurements to make sure that those are within specs. And they had 5 gates on this is a huge property up in Soddy Daisy. Actually we found down there in the bottom corner of it, this section of fencing right here was actually missing. Just needs to be fixed. Because of the liability and risk with a swimming pool, it puts you in a position where you've got to be careful. We have one of our customers just recently called us. She has a slide. It's old. It's a little rickety on the aluminum, and she's wanting to have a wooden stairwell built so that she can stabilize this and have it. Problem I'm talking with guides that I know as well in this is, what's our liability if somebody gets hurt on it? It would be absolutely superior to what is there, but there's a risk associated with it, and in this industry we call it, you have a duty to inform. So a guy goes to a yard sale and he buys a slide for a swimming pool. He brings it home. He realizes that he needs hardware to do this. He goes to a store, they order it, buy him the hardware, he goes and installs it. His 16-year-old son slides down head first, hits the bottom, and now he's paraplegic. They installed it on the shallow end of the pool. It needs to be at least 4 foot deep where you come out in this. They sued the company, the pool store that sold it to them, and it was decided that they had a duty to inform on codes of the installation, even though they didn't do any of the work. So there's a liability that comes around with pools, because unlike other stuff in homes, normally things come around and, okay, we're inspecting to see, are these things going to cost me money, or am I going to have to fix something? There's a lot of scenarios in the pool business. Well, you know what? People die. And there's a lot of people have died. We'll go through some of this stuff around swimming pools, just getting hurt, and some of the things that are required in these. So here we're just sitting here. We're looking at the deck. This deck looked really good. Pool decking area, there's hardly any areas in this where there was problems with it. More than times than not, we see concrete decks. We see concrete decks with cracks. There's two kinds of concrete, that is cracked and that hasn't cracked yet. But when it starts chipping up, that's a problem. When decks are starting to settle and you've got those height differences in between that, that's when those are there. So if you're a real estate agent at a house and your client is either selling the house or they're buying the house, these are just some things that you can keep your eye on. What's the condition of the deck? Is it chipping up? Is it settling? Settling can lead to other problems. So your first visual, really, when you come in, is what's the gate system like? Okay, now we're to the deck. What's the deck like? So we haven't gotten to the pool yet, but we're looking at all the accoutrements to that swimming pool. Then we've got the surface area of the pool. Here's the dimensions. We figured out the gallons. And so what we are documenting here is staining. I don't think there were any problems with that. That's one on any pool, whether it's vinyl, fiberglass, or gunite. You can look for staining. That could be an indication, not always of age, but many times of water condition. Are there a lot of metals in the water? Could that be leading to an issue with staining? Not that you have to sort it out, but it's giving you information. You're taking visuals on that. A lot of times with gunite pools, when this plaster is wearing out, you can see the plaster, but you can actually see the gray gunite surface underneath it. You know that thing's ready for a plaster job. You're probably not going to see a plaster job for under $8,000 to $10,000, and that's probably a small pool. If you're looking at a surface, and I'm just kind of going on this to kind of give you all some information, this was a gunite. If it's a vinyl liner pool, you want to look and see how faded is that vinyl liner. Usually that's from heavy chlorination. You can take a look at the rim and see the difference between the vinyl above the water level and the vinyl below the water level. Is the vinyl tightening up in the corners? That's a definite sign of age in a swimming pool. Pardon me there. You can also look, here's a big key in this, if the vinyl was installed right. If you walk around the shallow end, watch where the seam between the floor and the wall meet. It should be within about an inch of the wall. Sometimes liners have floated, and those seams can get out 2, 3, and 4 inches, which means there's a whole lot of pressure on that wall to make up that difference. It's got to stretch down there. And this particularly happens when pools lose water or liners float. But if you look at the seam on the bottom of the floor around the shallow end, that will tell you a lot about the condition of that liner. Was it put in correctly? This is one of the guys I talked to about 3 weeks ago who wished he had gotten a pool inspection. They came to look at brand new liner in the pool. They've had it there for 6 months or so. So they're finally out there and the pool starts losing water. And he has somebody come over, take a look at it, do leak detection on it. Turns out what he found out was the kids of the parents who had passed away that sold the home put the liner in themselves, and they didn't have the suction on this. And so it stretched the vinyl underneath the stairs and tore it, so he's due for a new liner. That would have been found out in an inspection. So you're probably going to see liners going to be starting around $5,000 and go up from there to put a new liner in a pool. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Fiberglass. Fiberglass there's better manufacturers. All of those than 10, 15 years ago, much better materials now. Fiberglass is, the nice thing about it, it's made in a factory on a form, and then they are taken, put in the ground. So you don't have issues with building something in the elements and other ground issues under construction. Those go in really quick as well. Anybody's got any questions here? Feel free to ask. Tile. Just looking at the quality of the tile around a pool on a gunite pool. So we've got the tile itself on this pool was in great shape. Very nice. Now, there were grout joints, so just see, above the tile and the coping that needed a little bit of work. Not a huge deal. But the tile on that one was really nice. No safety rope. This is ISPSC standards. Do residential pools have ropes? Nah, nobody ever really does it. But it would be noted. It would be noted in an inspection report. Also, alarms. They're now required with the purchase of a pool. You get a pool installed, you got to buy an alarm for it. Does anybody use it? Nope. If you got little kids, you better use it. Skimmers. Yes. I'm good. We call it living the dream. Lenny? Winnie. Got it. Okay. Yes. Okay. Right. By code, yes. So, like the illustration earlier, by code you need a fence around this. Well, they just created a gate, or they just created a ladder to climb into the swimming pool. Is the property's backyard fenced in? Okay, then that's it. If access to that pool does have a gate from house to house, and then a house is considered part of that gate system, then they're fine. Yes. Yeah, so it is the property, the backyard, that needs to be, or their entire property, either way, needs to be restricted by a fence for there to be a pool. This isn't here now, unless you have an automatic cover. If you have an automatic cover, in some states, you don't have to have a fence, and which isn't a bad idea. Okay, skimmers. This is where we pull floating debris from the surface and pull that into the filtering system, sanitization system, and main drains take it from the deep end. Every pool should have a skimmer. Not all pools have main drains. Let's see. We're looking here. Okay, these are the drain covers. They're a VGB. We'll talk about VGB right now real quick. Virginia Graham Baker Act passed 12, 15 years ago maybe, and it had to do with entrapment. The grates are designed so that nobody could swim to the bottom, get stuck on it, because that actually has happened and people have drowned. That suction of that pulling sucks them into it. So now these are designed. They're supposed to be changed out every 5 years. That's by code on public pools, and we're just applying those codes to the residential pools. So that was a VGB Act there. When we get to plumbing, we'll talk about something else. So pool lighting, there's actually a minimum lumen. When I took my course on this, there's actually a minimum number of lumens per square feet of a pool surface. Matthew Perry drowned in his hot tub. The lights were not working. Nobody found him. They didn't know where he was. We're out there at night. But had there been lights on in that, doesn't mean they would have saved his life, but that's where he was found, and there were no lights working. And when they did look for him at night, they didn't find him and wondered where he was. So there's a minimum number of lumens per square feet that a light needs to put out so that at night you could see into a pool if somebody is in distress or in trouble. Absolutely. Yep. Okay. That's a good question. It's not necessarily like with pump motors. When pump motors go on off, because they do it, hey, we only run it at night. So every day that switch is going on off. That wears on motors. Lights doesn't affect them really, because the ability of them to project, and I'm going to assume your pool is relatively new, so it's probably LEDs. Yeah, not a problem at all. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And ladders and handrails, there are some safety mechanisms on that. If you don't have the rubber boots on the bottom, those will eat holes in vinyl liner pools in a heartbeat. And they'll also damage the plaster on a plaster pool. Same thing with that. Handrails, we did not see a handrail right here where the steps were. That is by code required on a pool. At a residence, you're not going to get in trouble for it. But we're talking about trying to eliminate liability. There's all kinds of liabilities with a pool. They had no diving board on this one, but they did have a slide, custom slide, very nice. We got rust here. This is the top of it as it goes down into the pool. There's supposed to be handrail, and there's supposed to be a sticker that tells you how to use a slide on it. Comes that way. It was not the correct distance out over the deck on the coping on this. Does it matter? Only if somebody gets hurt and there's a lawsuit, then it matters. Okay, then a nice hot tub. This is one where we saw, I think, more of the grout concerns in this. There were, can you see this little white line right here? There was about 3 or 4 of these throughout, which indicated we were not able to determine if that was a structural or just a surface crack. I was kind of, it's just hard to say unless you can dye test it. And if you dye test it, water's going out, your dye's going out. That's how we find a lot of leaks that way, to see. So, yes. You can. And listen, this is, that would be fine. If somebody's got a standalone hot tub in their backyard, let the home inspector do it. Okay, $50 maybe. All you're going to do is push buttons and see if they work or not. That's all you can do. Yeah. Yeah. You go, this the light works, jets are on, pumps on. Yeah, it's a 5-minute inspection. Yeah. We'd love to do it for you, but he can take care of that. Okay. Here we were just looking at surface defects within that spa, and this is where there were some various lines indicating potential cracking in that. Now, whether it was leaking or not, we just don't know, but indication that it was. Here's some grout joints in here. This is an air release valve, so they didn't have a blower. So jets in a spa have a venturi that when you, this little thing right here, as you thread it out and open it up, the venturi draws air in and you get bubbles that way. If you have a spa with a jetted air, it's like a monsoon going on in there. You know, when you see the bubbles just roaring through that, that's jetted. This is just a simple venturi system on it. More on the tile. This is the spa was where we really had issues with that above it. They did have VGB compliant drain grates. If you notice right here, these are raised from the base. That's so that you can't get entrapped on that. The Virginia Band great James Baker, I believe was Secretary of State under Ronald Reagan, his granddaughter got entrapped in a spa and drowned through the suction. And that's why that act came to be, and we've dealt with entrapment in swimming pools and spas. Okay, spa lighting working here, mechanical pump system. This is automation now, where and variable speeds. Those are now required. I don't like them that much. I just think they're more of a hassle. When I'm a pool guy and you're doing stuff, you're like, hey, let's get this stuff done fast. You take a variable speed and you push the start button. You sit there and you look at it and you look at it and you look at it, and then it just kind of goes. You wasted 4 seconds, but you know what I mean? Every second counts when you're in the business. So those are now required. Do you get much savings out of it? It's kind of hard to say. In the world of pumps and electricity and water, bonding is important on every electrical device that's connected to a pool. One of the things you could be looking around, okay, they've got a heater, we've got a pump, and there could be a salt system. Just look and see if they're bonded. See if the bonding wire, because everything should be bonded going by the pump, because the pump is going to be powered by the breaker box. It's got the green wire, which is your ground wire, is connected to the ground, and everything goes that direction. Just look and see if the equipment, that will tell you many times how well is it, because sometimes guys change out pump motors and just don't put the bond wire back on. So that's one of the things that you can look at. So when you're just looking at a pool, we've talked about lights. You want to make sure that the lights are working. Not that you have to go try that out, but you're just trying to find information that can help your seller or your buyer know more about what they've got. Okay, that's more on the pump issue. This is a waterfall pump. So they had, this pool I think had one, they had for the slide pump, they had a waterfall pump, spa pump, pool circulation pump, cleaner pump. So I think there were 5. There were 5 pumps within this pool system. You're going to see very few of these pools, particularly in the Chattanooga area. None of those were bonded. Same thing here on the pumps. That one was shot. We're still looking at pumps. And let's take a look at this real quick. This can be a key giveaway. See the rust right here? And I think I saw another one here. This one was just totally toast. This was the windings start to go bad over time, produces a whole lot of heat. That heat is going to burn the outside of the surface, and this combined with rust. Just did one in an apartment complex. If you looked at it from the top, you think, man, this pump looks great, but you can hear the windings. I mean, almost like it was literally, it looked like it was new from the factory. Once I turned it over, got it off, turned it over, there was a big rust bulge on the bottom of it. And so they had water from a leaking shaft seal over time. Took care of that on the bottom of it. Okay. That's another pump. Yeah, we went through the pumps with this. Filtration. Filtration is very important. We've basically got 3 types of filtration systems. This one right here is a sand filter. It's full of sand. Water goes in the top, forced down through the sand that filters it, returns through the laterals, through the central column back up, and returns to the pool clean. There are cartridge filters. That's just like there's cartridges, and it passes through those cartridges. Those have to be taken out and cleaned about every 3 months. Sand filters get backwashed once a week. And then there's DE filters, which are like sand filters on steroids. So a sand filter filters to about 5 microns, which is very sufficient for a pool. DE filter is going to filter to about 1 micron. But you better use your DE powder in those. That's what you'll see as far as the filtration system of a pool. Yes. No. Listen, I want questions. Yes. Manufacturer says every 3 years. We recommend 3 to 5. If you run it year round, I would say 3 years. If you close it in the winter and you don't operate it, you got 5. Yep. Let's see what we get here. Okay, they had a salt system in it. Everything was working, but they had no salt. Salt systems have become. Any questions on salt systems at all? Yeah. Okay, that's what you got. Okay, if you have a salt pool, then you are a chlorine manufacturer. This makes both your chlorine and your caustic soda as a byproduct of the brine or salt water passing through, and it gets an electrical charge. Inside the cell, there's titanium plates covered in ruthenium. As that ruthenium burns off, it's producing the chlorine, and that byproduct is caustic soda, both of which you need for your pool. So a salt pool is not a chlorine pool. It's still a chlorine pool, and unless you're using Bacillus, which is a non-chlorine sanitizer, every pool should always have at least 1 part per million chlorine in it. Other ways to chlorinate your pool, tablets are great. You can put tablets into a chlorinator. 5 tablets may take you for a week, and you just do it once a week. Shock is chlorine in a granular form. That will take your pool from 0 to 5 in about 15 minutes. That's when you're in trouble, when you need it bad. Yeah. Heaters, look at the age around what those things look like. Check, just see if it's got its bonding wire going to it. And there's basically push button, see if they work or not. But we'll see heaters on swimming pools, and there's its bonding lug. I think that may have been the only thing, that and their automation box are, I think, the only 2 things that were actually bonded in this. If it's outside and you take good care of your water balance, you can get 8, 10, 12 years. I actually saw an old millivolt, an old millivolt on, and it's still working. This is one where you got the pilot light. Now everything's electronic. They give you codes if something's wrong, sensors, all that stuff is there, and it is still working. That thing's probably 15, 16 years old, an old Hayward H250 millivolt heater. You should get long life out of these. If you do not take care of your pH and your water balance, you can change out a $12 to $15 to $1,800 heat exchanger in 2 years. It's copper. So that copper is a very sensitive metal, and it's getting hot. And if your pH drops down, then the water becomes acidic, it's an acid, and it starts eating on that stuff, and then you can have an expensive bill with that. Which, in an inspection, we don't do anything right now as far as the water goes. The water is what it is, and we don't fix anything. We are there to observe and report what is there on the time of our inspection. So, like, let's say we go there and they've got a safety cover, but the safety cover's in the garage and we can't see it. We would just say, hey, there was not a safety cover available for us at the time of the inspection. Let me ask you all as realtors. If you're selling a home, I want to make sure we keep good time on this. Okay. If you're selling a home in the winter and the pool is covered, is that good or bad for you? With a winterized swimming pool. What's that? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right. No, I agree with you. Okay. Didn't even ask. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to really get a pool for under 60 grand. A lot of pools, $80,000, $100,000, $120,000, especially when you get your gunite and a little spa, it's a little pool spa combo. That's probably worth more than the value of all the cars in the house. And knowing what's going on with something that has that high of a value is really important. So here we're looking at, this is our automation system. What's that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's between you and your customer. Say, hey, listen, if this thing, hey, and I recommend sellers get a pool inspection so they know what they're dealing with. We're doing that. We're doing a $100 off if the seller wants an inspection on their pool so they kind of know what they're looking at. We do those for $100 discount for the seller. Okay. Inspection's $395. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So, and then winterize again, and that inspection could hold for whoever else wants to see that. So, openings and closings for us on residential pools are $250. If we were to open this thing, be there, boom, do it, and then close it, we do that for $350 total on the one stop. Yes. So an opening and a closing for a pool is $500 a year, $250 each time. If we were going to come in, open up a pool, do the inspection, and then winterize it, we would do that for $350 for both the opening and the re-winterizing of that. Yeah, we would close it back up. You got a problem, man. Over the winter? Okay. Okay, it's just a lot of work. Oh, if you don't winterize, I mean, if you keep it open, especially, it's all going to depend on vegetation. Okay, then you probably don't have much to worry about. Okay, then yours was fine. I mean, we've got pools where you can be there, spend 15 minutes netting the pool, and by the time you've gotten to the other side, this one now looks like what it did when you got there. Those properties are there. They're all over Chattanooga. Yeah. No, you go. Okay, these are spec tags on the automation. This is very important. We get into the electrical stuff. Only one of these is identified as what it goes to. If you were looking at a customer's property, you go over there and just take a look at the panel box and go, okay, is it rusted? Does everything look bad? Does it look like it's in decent shape? And you could just mention, hey, y'all need to get these, you need to identify what these breakers are and what they go to in your box. GFCIs, this is really interesting. GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupter. A regular outlet with an appliance in the water will not trip because the cooling effect of the water diminishes its ability to detect heat and then trip the breaker. It's the heat that trips it. The GFCI, which you'll see these, they have a button on them. Sometimes they're red, there's a white one, there's a red one. The GFCI can detect minute changes in heat. So if an electrical cord is plugged in, it gets dropped into the water, boom. You know, if you've ever seen a short, you see the spark, don't even look at it. It's bad for your eyes. You see the burning. That is an unbelievably intense heat. When it's in water, it's not there. And that's what the GFCI picks up, is that small change in heat and then trips instantly. That prevents electrocution. Did I say that right? Okay. Okay, we've got more pictures. We do all kinds, yeah. The more pictures, the better. All right, here's an important thing on plumbing. This used to be very common. It's not much anymore. All right, check on our time. We're going to go about another 5 minutes or so if y'all have any questions. We used to put a lot of vacuum ports on the walls of a swimming pool. We vacuum out of skimmers now. Vacuum port is a suction line, so all of these lines right here are running into the pump, so all the water is running this direction. This one is actually, I think, the Spall with that, or that's Spall with the actuator on it. So that you can go over, just take your vacuum hose, stick it in the wall, and you go around vacuuming your pool. In a public pool, they did that. They forgot to close the valve, and there was no plug in it. A kid came up, looked into the pipe, and it pulled his eyeball out. There is an unbelievable amount of force that goes on with a pool circulation system. A child sat down on a main drain in a little kiddie pool area and pulled the intestines out of the child's rear end. So this is kind of the VGB, because you don't have to get your arm entrapped on a small thing. Your hair could get pulled in and caught into something. And then you're pulling hair out of your head or you're drowning. There is a hotel pool in Tiftonia. I went over, was trying to figure, we were helping them figure some stuff out on two different pools side by side. He goes, yeah, we had this thing over here. The guy got really mad because his son went by and got sucked, he got stuck to it. I was like, stuck? You can't get stuck to a return port. They had a suction port with a return eyeball in it. And when the kid got up close to it, it pulled him up to it. And his dad actually had to pull him off of it. Okay, that kind of stuff can kill people. So we don't have vacuum ports anymore on the side of a pool. Now, a lot of pools do exist with those. I've taken some and just cut the plumbing, so it's not possible. And they do have a special fitting for that. It requires literally a screwdriver to pull up a pretty tight spring and then slide them in, but they won't even build them anymore. So if you're looking at a swimming pool, and if you went to venture this far, okay, they've got a main drain. That's one line coming in. Okay, they have one skimmer. That's one line coming in. What if there's a third line coming in on the suction side of that? There's only two other things I think it could be. It could be a vacuum port on the side of the wall. Some pools in heavy groundwater areas, they bury a suction pipe. So if you're going to change out the liner in a pool, you can open that one up and pull groundwater out from your system and pump it away from the area. But if you've got one skimmer, one main drain, and you've got 3 returns, then start looking on the, if this is a pool, on the middle of the wall, closest to the pump area is where you would find a vacuum port. And this may help you with your kids or your grandkids. You know what I mean? Just being aware of this around a swimming pool. There's a lot of stuff going on. This doesn't run into the waterfalls or the slides. All of those pumps are on the other side of the house. Any questions about? This is the mechanical, you know what I mean, the ugly side of the pool business. This was their manual cleaning equipment. That's all they had. And that pretty much takes us to the conclusion of what we look at when we get into a inspection of a swimming pool. And I mean, every pool is different. I've got Ramsgate up in Hickson Pike on there. Okay, we've been doing their pool for 20 years. If that pool is going to start growing algae, it is always on the lower far side deep end corner of the pool house. Why there? I don't know. That's just what it does. You can have 2 pools sitting side by side and they will not behave differently. Depending upon who's swimming in it, depending upon the vegetation that could be around. Those that are out in the farming areas get a lot of nitrates in their pool from fertilizers that get airborne. So there's a whole world of things that can go on here. But I'm just hoping that today we got to take a look at a pool, be aware of liabilities and things that can go wrong, that you could put your eyes on something and just, at least, hey, throw something out and you look smarter, because you've identified some stuff. But the hazards, like as far as the electrical goes and the bonding, everything in the pool's got to be bonded, including the handrails and the ladders that are in a pool or on the edge of the pool. Even a handrail that is up on the deck has to be bonded, because a charge can go. As a matter of fact, there's a hotel downtown that we replastered. I was wondering about, I wonder why was this a crack repair done? Then I realized, the bonding had gone bad on the handrail. Somebody's in the pool, grabs a handrail, and they're stuck to it. They can't get off of it. Now, it's not always that strong, that current, but you can go, oh my gosh, man, that shocked me. There's stray current running through the earth. Has anybody ever heard of grounding? Walking barefooted? It's grounding your body to. My wife and I bought grounding sheets. So we sleep on sheets with little metal threads in it so that we've got that electrical contact. Good for the body. The bonding on that. I'm trying to think if there's anything. We didn't even talk about chemicals. I'll just mention this to you real quick. If you've got chlorine, trichlor, the 3-inch puck tablets, and you have calcium hypochlorite, which is your granular shock, everybody's got these, should kind of have them. Salt pools typically don't use the pucks, but you have, if you need to shock your pool quick, how do you do it? Okay, yeah, that's Cal Hypo. If you put trichlor and Cal Hypo together in a chlorinator, you just made a bomb. You can blow a pump room up with that. So there's a lot of potential for things to go wrong. Just kids falling off of a slide, diving boards breaking. No, because they didn't have a diving board. Whenever if you're looking at a pool that's got a diving board, just take a look at the fulcrum where this is the base and this is out over the pool. Take a look at the fulcrum and see if there's a crack. That's where it's going to show up. And then hey, that right there, you already know they're going to need a new diving board. And that probably that's going to cost you twice of what an inspection would be. So couple real quick instances, and we'll close this thing up. I did an inspection for a pool old pool up off of Norcross in Hickson. And he goes, okay, well, we notified this. He goes, hey, can you give me an estimate for this stuff? I'm like, yeah, okay, that would be about this, that'd be about this, that'd be about that. So the next Friday, I get a call. He goes, hey, we closed on the house. When can you get started? I need it ready next weekend. I was like, well, let me see what I can do. And so I had John. John was available. He went in. We drained it, pressure washed it, got everything ready to go. And then the amazing thing was we were able to fit that thing in. So when you do have a pool company do a pool inspection, you can get quotes on stuff. Doesn't mean they have to use us. That's one of the reasons we're creating another company just for pool inspection, so we don't have a conflict of interest. That our fiduciary responsibility as an inspector is to the person who hires us to do that for them. So we can give estimates. Doesn't mean they've got, and we're actually have a separate company for doing that. Let's see, that was his. That was the deal though. This time of the year, if you need a pool guy, they're 2 weeks out. If they're not 2 weeks out, you don't want them. This time of the year. Now, if you need a pool guy in December, everybody can be there today. It's a very seasonal business, very seasonal business. So what do y'all think about the reports? Okay. No, we think. I had to go, but I picked it on my home screen. No, okay. All right. So this product was put together by Dennis Boyd out of Nashville. He is an ER doctor. He has a master's in curriculum development, and he owns Boyd, weird name, Pools and Lighting. That's what he chose it, but that's what he's always been. He's been in the business now for probably going on 30 years, but he spent 15 years, about $115,000, and has gone through all of the codes and everything that you would need to know. So like here's what, like if we go in here and we check, this is wrong, he's already got the color and the verbiage that goes along with it. And it's all based on codes, ISPSC codes. And dude, it was had a great time with him going through the certification, and yeah, we just think it's a quality product. It's something that's going to let people know what's going on there. All right. Well, hey, $395. $395. Yeah. There you go.